Hey Crafty fam, it's Alex Fanover, and today I am back with another craft from my DIY Alex mystery box. So I'm going to give everyone a couple of minutes to join us. I'm going to share our live around a little bit, and then we are going to do a really fun project today because, as you guys know, I basically have no self-control. So we're not going to do this like just a simple, easy car coaster. No. We're going to do this the fun way with alcohol ink, UV resin, and vinyl because, like I said, I just can't help myself. So you guys are hopefully going to learn a lot. But the really nice thing about crafts like this is that you can really do these car coasters any way that you want to. You can keep it really simple and just use vinyl. That's absolutely fine. Or if you want to take it to another level, I'm going to show you how to do that. So I think it's going to be super fun. So let's share this live around and make sure some of our friends can join us, and then we're going to get started. Oh, good. That's always a really cute thumbnail. All right, guys, if you are joining me, let me know that you can hear me okay and see me okay, because that's always good to know. This is day 2 of me using my new software, so we're going to hope that it goes as well as it did yesterday. All right. Post on DIY Alex. We don't want that. And if you guys can't hear me, then I need to know that now too. Before we get into the instruction. That would not be very fun. All right, I think we're all set there. So I'll close Facebook so I don't hear any funny noise. And I still don't see any comments. So let me know if you guys can hear everything okay and see everything okay. See if maybe my computer's just a little bit slow. Okay, we're going to wait just a second for everyone to respond and say hello, only because if there's a problem and I need to restart the stream, I don't want to get started and then have to back it up. So we'll take a moment, let everybody jump on and say hello. You guys, I'm so excited for this project. So another thing I wanted to say before we get too far into the video is that if you want to do this project but you didn't get a DIY Alex mystery box, do not worry about that. I put all the products that I'm using today, I hope I remembered them all, in the description so that in case you want to buy these products individually, you can certainly do that. But you should have the basics to do this stuff in the box. Oh, good. Hello, CM and Alicia. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to switch you guys over to the overhead and we're going to talk about the products from the box that we are using in this video. So I'm going to switch y'all over, I think. Wait, let me think. Okay, this way. Okay, so here is the DIY Alex mystery box packing kit in case you guys need to take a screenshot of that if you did not receive one in your box. Today we are going to be using the 2 acrylic auto coasters here. And then we're going to be using the StarCraft matte copper right here. So those are the 2 products that we are checking off with this box, and I'm super pumped to show you guys what to do because I just really love projects like this. So we are going to be using UV resin, which means that we are going to talk about a little bit of safety before we get started. Now, the thing about safety with resin and stuff like that is that it can go on and on and on forever. So we're not going to spend a ton of time on it, but I do want to address it just because I do think that it is important. Hey, Jenny, thanks for joining me. I'm glad you guys are here. This is a really early live for me. For those of you guys on the East Coast, or sorry, on the West Coast, it's only like 9 o'clock for you. That's really early. I have so many appointments today and they're all good, but like this is literally the only time that I could make to go live with you guys. Oh, of course, Annabelle, you're so welcome. All right, so let's jump back into UV resin safety. So I've talked about this a little bit before, but you guys know that I'm really passionate about being really careful when you do things like work with UV resin and working with epoxy. One question that I get really frequently is UV resin any safer than working with epoxy? And I will be honest with you guys, I have attempted to research this question because I wondered the same thing myself. But since a lot of UV resin is made in China, I don't notice a lot of, I've never found an ingredient list. I've never found like a safety warning or anything like that. And I think that's because that the laws about what companies have to disclose, like here in the US, don't necessarily apply to Chinese manufacturers maybe. I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but I really have not found any information on that topic. So to me, when I work on both of these things, I just consider them the same just to be safe because I don't think you can ever like go wrong with that. Hey Stephanie, thanks for joining me, and Judy as well. So normally I wear a half face respirator. That's normally what I wear, and I remembered today to link that for you guys in the description of this video. So if you want to go all the way down under links in the description of this video, there is a link that says like my favorite PPE or the PPE that I wear or something like that. And then below that is the cartridges. And those are the pieces that I normally wear when I'm working with UV resin or epoxy. For the purposes of this video, I am going to be using just a regular N95. And that is because my voice will literally go die if I try to wear that half face respirator and talk to you guys for probably like an hour. So I'm going to take it down a step and use this N95, which is what I used before I had the half face respirator. And here's the way that I see it. You guys know I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. But the way that I see it, if I'm not going to be exposed for an extended period of time and I'm not going to be doing like a bunch of UV resin projects in a row, I think that this is probably okay for now because it does filter a certain level of particles, and that's really what you're looking for with PPE. That is the basic goal. So that's why I'm going to be using an N95. But normally I would go ahead and use the full respirator, and then I would voice over the video for you guys. But since this is live, that can be really, really hard to do. Hey, Laura. Oh, good. Laura has never used UV resin or epoxy, so you can't wait to see how. Good. Well, I'm glad that you're here because this is going to help you. So that's my little disclaimer on safety. Oh, another thing, always, 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 always wear gloves. I see so many videos like on TikTok or wherever of people not wearing gloves with UV resin. UV resin and epoxy are not made to get on your skin, okay? So please always wear gloves. As far as cleanup goes, it can be a real pain to clean this stuff up. So I always keep baby wipes with me whenever I am working with UV resin or epoxy, and that seems to get things off really well. If you notice that something dropped, if you get it with a baby wipe, right away, then that is really, really helpful. So I always keep these nearby just as a safety precaution. You can go further with this. Oh, another thing that I'm doing, I forgot. I did leave my door open and propped today, so you may hear some noise from my husband or my cat, because I normally shut that door. And I have my fan running. You guys probably can't hear it, but that gives good airflow into the room. Normally, when the weather is warm, I would also have my window open, and because the window and the door are on opposite walls, that would create some good airflow through the room. I'm not going to do that in this case because UV resin and epoxy do not like cold weather, so they don't react very well in the cold. But that's another safety precaution that I would take as well. So if you guys want to talk more about UV resin safety, I always get really nervous. I thought about making a video for you guys about what I do to protect myself from epoxy and UV resin, but I'll be honest, guys, people get really, really hateful when it comes to epoxy and UV resin. People think that they all know best and that I am supposed to tell everybody what they should do, even though I'm not a medical professional and I don't know your health history. So that's why I've strayed away, honestly, from making any kind of safety video, because I don't want people to take that as like medical advice. All I can tell you is what I do and how I protect myself, but I would always encourage you to do your own research. If you're not comfortable, look into it before you get started. Don't just jump in and then see what happens. In this case, that's not a good idea with epoxy and UV resin. Okay, so now we're off my soapbox. No more about safety. I just wanted to give you that little disclaimer to get started. So the first thing I'm actually going to do, since we are putting alcohol ink on these car coasters, or auto coasters, as we call them on the 143 Vinyl website, is I'm actually going to paint them white. And the reason for that is because UV resin. Alcohol inks are so, what's the word I'm looking for? Non-opaque. Like they're such a light color a lot of the time that I want to make sure that you can see the color really brightly. So I'm going to put a coat of acrylic paint down before we even get started with any of that. So I'm going to switch you guys over to my overhead camera and we're going to get started. Okay, so here are my two auto coasters. And as you can see, they already look white, and that's just because they come with a film on top of them. So we're gonna go ahead and remove that. Hello, Shading of the Heart, you're back. She said 2 lives in a row. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. All right, so we're gonna start with our little auto coasters, and this is just my mouse to control my laptop. I'll put that over there. And we are going to begin by taking off the little film that comes on all acrylic blanks. And the reason for that is to just prevent it from being scratched.
Now I'm only going to take off this one side since we're going to be working on this one side, and hopefully if any UV resin gets on the other side, the film will protect it from sticking and I'll be able to peel it right off. So nothing fancy about this first step. I'm literally just going to paint these guys white. Oh, and I didn't bring like anything to put my paint on, so I'll be putting paint directly on these coasters. Just like that. See if I end up needing any more than that, but I don't think so. Let me know how you guys are doing this morning. Hey, Barbara, thanks for joining me. I'm glad you're here. All right, so I'm just going to spread this around. Oh, wow, this is like way too much paint. Anyone else always do that? I literally always use way too much paint. And it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. We just want to create a little bit of a base for our alcohol ink so that the color is nice and vivid. This is going to make the other side not look as bright, but that's okay. And in case you guys, I forgot to explain this, in case you guys are not familiar, car coasters are essentially just the coasters that go down in your cup holders in your vehicle, and they keep your cup holders from getting really gross when like your drink spill or your drink sweat or anything like that. Hello, Markia. Thanks for joining me. So that's the purpose of these little guys. I forgot to say that in case you guys are unfamiliar. I have some in my car already, and I love them. I think they definitely save my cup holders from getting really gross. So we'll have to give that a few minutes to dry, and then we'll get started with alcohol ink. So let me know in the comments how many of you guys have worked with alcohol ink before and how many of you are brand new. I'm going to try to get this coat as smooth as I can. It's not going to be perfect, and that's okay because we're going to cover it with alcohol ink. But like I said, alcohol ink is pretty translucent, so you're probably going to be able to see my brush strokes, but that's fine. It's all good. Oh, this one worked really well, but this one has so many brush strokes in it. All right. We're going to leave well enough alone today. And I'm going to set this one aside. And we'll just chat while this is drying. So we'll just hang out. Shading of the Heart said, never knew what auto coasters were used for until you explained it in your mystery box unboxing. Oh, good. Oh, good. Hey, Corinne. Thanks for joining me. She said, I'm the queen of too much paint. I know. Like, I swear, I've been painting things for how long, and I still can't get the amount of paint right that I need. I am always overdoing it. Oh, good. Okay. Markia is new to alcohol ink, and so is Jenny and Laura and Stephanie. Okay, and Shading of the Heart is used it for wood grain tumblers and in molds. Yes, so it definitely is a really versatile product. It's a lot like epoxy in that way. But if you guys want to see a comparison between epoxy and UV resin, it's actually one of my more popular videos. But I have like a comparing contrasting video of epoxy and UV resin if you guys want to check that out. It explains the differences a little more in depth because we're not going to go into them today. But I will tell you the basics. So the basic things that distinguish UV resin from epoxy are, first of all, that they don't need to be mixed. So they come in a smaller bottle, but they don't have a part A and B the way that epoxy do. They're already pre-mixed, and you can literally do your projects really fast because we're going to use a UV lamp, also from 143 Vinyl, to cure everything so that it doesn't have to take forever, which is really nice. But the downside of that is that it's not quite as versatile as far as what you can do with it. So for example, you cannot put UV resin on a tumbler. People ask me that all the time. You cannot put UV resin on a tumbler because it just simply won't work. It has to be small, flat surfaces, kind of like car coasters or, you know, whatever kind of acrylic blanks you want to use it for, or like really shallow molds or things like that. Oh, Corinne is getting ready to paint. Hey, Veronica, thanks for joining me. I'm so glad that you're here. Lee says she's brand new to alcohol ink and she's always wanted to try it. Well, good deal. You guys, I'm going to scoot the camera. I'm going to go this way a little bit. There we go. Okay. Kathy says, where did you get your car coaster blanks? So Kathy, I got these from 143 Vinyl. In the description of this video, I left a link for you down there. So if you want to check those out, you can certainly find them there. These came in my DIY Alex mystery box if you were a person who got a mystery box. If you did not, you can still buy them individually on the website. So don't be worried about that.
Come on, little coasters.
Dry, dry, dry. We're literally watching paint dry today, you guys. I don't know if you noticed the irony in that. We are literally going to watch paint dry. Hopefully it shouldn't take too long, though. This is a pretty thin coat, so shouldn't be too bad. Oh, guys, I'm playing with it. What am I doing? I'm going to mess it up. We just talked about this yesterday. I am the queen of never leaving well enough alone. I always mess my crafts up by like keep going. So like when I see something and I'm like, okay, that looks pretty good, but like just a little more, just a little more, then I literally screw everything up. And it happens every single time because I can't handle myself. Shading of the Heart said, just finished applying a coat of epoxy to a tumbler when I got your live notification. How cool. Perfect. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay. So if you don't follow me over on Instagram, you definitely want to go do that because I love Instagram and I get on there every single day. But I've been sharing the progress of my epoxy cabinet. So I ordered a new piece of furniture for my craft room, and this little cabinet is so stinking cute, and I'm going to be using it to keep all of my epoxy tumblers and all my epoxy supplies in. Well, okay, so we got the bottom cabinet assembled like last Friday night. It was perfect, went great. Actually, Andrew was really mad. Andrew is my husband, by the way, if you're new around here, and God love him. He was putting it together for me, and every single piece had to be assembled. Like it came in a completely flat box. So he was like kind of annoyed that he had to do it in the first place. But we finished the bottom part, and then the Saturday morning we went to put the hutch together, which is like, you know, the part that sits on the top that makes it a little bit taller. And we pulled the pieces out of the box, and one of the first pieces we pulled out was literally broken in half. So I actually had to request a new one from Wayfair, and I was so frustrated because I was so excited about this stupid cabinet. So the cabinet is not ready yet, which is why I have not made any epoxy tumblers in a while, because I don't really have a good space for it right now. So if you want to see all those crazy updates, I've stored it all on my Instagram, on my stories, and in my craft room highlight. So you can go check that out if you want to learn some more about it. But yeah, I'm really getting there. And that just reminded me when you said epoxy tumblers that I need to get on that and get going with those again. Lee said, can you use gel nail polish UV lamp for the UV resin? That's a great question, Lee. So you want to use a UV lamp that has a wattage of at least 50 watts in order to use it with UV resin. So it depends on the wattage of the lamp that you have. If it's a super weak lamp, it probably will not excuse me, sorry guys. It will probably not cure the UV resin all the way, and you'll notice that it'll still be a little bit sticky. So you can give it a shot, but it may or may not work. And the other thing you can do if you don't want to buy another UV lamp is you can also use the sun. I mean, obviously the sun is the OG form of UV rays. However, it's just going to take a lot longer than if you have a UV lamp that you can just pop over top your project, turn the lamp on and then stop it. So if you have a UV lamp and you don't want to buy another one, you could start curing it under UV lamp, put it out in the sun for the rest of the time until it's cured, and then you would be done. I just don't know that it's going to be done in a couple minutes. It might be more like a couple of hours depending on how much sun you have. So you have some choices there with what you can do with it. Oh my gosh, yes. Corinne said, I'm waiting for IKEA to get their stuff together. I need this huge shelf. I know. So if you guys if you're new around here, I've been working on my craft room all year, and I really wanted to buy a scrap box by Dreambox, but I have vaulted ceilings in my room, so I cannot use a Dreambox because it's really, really tall. So that wouldn't work. So I ended up getting the Calyx units from IKEA that are super popular for craft rooms, but holy guacamole, you guys. I had to fight tooth and nail to get these things. Then I had to wait like 6 weeks to get them delivered. And then they forgot a piece of my furniture. Like, it was literally craziness to get this set up. I had been working on my craft room for like 6 months at that point, and I was so frustrated. But I think also partially because of the pandemic, and then IKEA was really low on stock. So Anyways, long story short, if you're trying to go to IKEA anytime soon, make sure you check and see what they have before you go, because chances are they're not going to have anything that you're looking for. When I went back in July, and I like made this whole thing about it on Instagram. I was like, shop with me through IKEA. And if you guys have ever been to IKEA, as we were walking through the top show floor, I was showing everyone what I was going to buy, and I was so excited. And then we got to the portion where you actually pick your furniture, and they did not have a single piece that I was looking for. I was so frustrated. Now, luckily, my parents live in a city that has an IKEA, so I was already home to see my parents, so not that big of a deal. But for people who were making trips from like hours around, people came and got absolutely nothing that they came for. So it was a very frustrating process. Kathy said, thanks, I looked on 143, of course. I searched for car coasters, but there was nothing there. It's auto coaster. Yes, Kathy, and when we were naming these little guys, the reason we named them auto coasters is because we wanted to make sure that people didn't just specifically think they fit in cars. Like if you wanted them and you drive a SUV or a truck, these still fit in your car, in your cup holder, but we were worried if we said car coaster that nobody would realize that they still fit. And I'm still out of the frame. Okay, we gotta go. How do we have to go? This way? No. This way? Nope. In case you guys are new around here, I was using my new software yesterday. It's still a little bit new to me, so I apologize for the little bit of messiness. Okay, so Denise said, so do these coasters, you need UV resin and alcohol ink. So Denise, you do not have to do them this way. You can do them this way, but it is not required. All you need for them is vinyl, and you can put just vinyl on them. That works great. I'm just going to show you some other options in case you want to take it up a notch. Oh, Corinne said she's waiting for the Calyx 5x5. Yes, I have the 3x4, and that was challenging to find, so I'm sure that the 5x5 is going to be a pain. Yeah, Shading of the Heart said the lack of inventory in stores is so aggravating. Ugh, yes, like it's killing me. All year, I swear, everything I've been looking for has taken weeks and weeks to get to me compared to normal. And Corinne says these do fit in trucks because Corinne drives a truck, so she says she loves them. Yay, well, good. Okay, you guys, I think we're dry enough to get started, so I'm pumped. Let's go back to the overhead camera and we will check out the next step. Okay, so now we've got the coasters painted. I'm going to set my paintbrush aside. And next we're going to get started with alcohol ink. And I'm going to go ahead and put my gloves on. This is not necessarily for safety. This is more so because alcohol ink will stain your hands. It will stain your clothes. So I just always wear gloves with alcohol ink just to make sure that I don't get a mess everywhere. And I'm going to go ahead and take my watch off just to make sure I don't get alcohol ink all over it. Okay, so I've got some different colors of alcohol ink, and I want you guys to help me decide because I grabbed a ton out of my bin. I have a lot of alcohol inks. So first of all, I'm going to be using, we're frozen, huh? Looks like my overhead camera is frozen. Did that work? Nope. Okay, guys, we're going to give my camera just a second. It looks like it froze overhead a little bit. So hopefully we can get this going again. If you guys will give me a hot second, I am going to take a look at my phone and see what is happening. Sorry about that, guys. Hang on. And of course, I have my microphone. All right, I'm going to lay my microphone down just for a second. Okay. So it looks normal on the phone. So why are you being bad? Okay. Just a hot second, you guys. Share this device. Share this camera. We'll reconnect and see if that helps. Oh, good. Okay, we're back. All right. Let me put this back up here. And then we will get going again. It's always fun trying new technology, isn't it? Okay, so it's moving kind of funky, but we're going to try it again. How does that look, guys? Can you see okay? Let me know. Hey, Pepe, thanks for being here. Okay, is this any better? Oh, you guys, it's like so slow. I don't know what's happening. All right. So I'm going to keep talking, and I'm going to hold you guys up to this camera for now, and we're going to see if we can get this other camera to work. All right, so I'm going to be using these foam applicators that you can also get from 143 Vinyl. These did not come in your box, so if you want to work with these separately, you'll have to order them. But I did link everything that I'm using today down in the video description. So if you want to check out these foam applicators, you can get them from 143 Vinyl. So here is the foam pieces, and then I'm just using the little round applicator. But if you guys order the foam ones that I linked, you will see that... oh, I'm not wearing my microphone. Y'all. The struggle bus is in full force today because y'all probably can't hear me. All right. So the foam applicators, if you decide to order them, come with a little round applicator like this one. This way. And then the little foam pieces also. Sorry, guys. I can't remember how to be on camera anymore because it's moving funky. All right. Yeah, it's just a little choppy. Okay. So that's one piece. The second piece, of course, is your alcohol ink. So I have some really, really beautiful colors here that I'm obsessed with. Crafty Mama J says, cold here in Connecticut, love working with alcohol ink. Agreed, agreed. Me too. Okay, so these are some of my favorite alcohol ink colors, and these are from the Tim Holtz brand, so I'm going to try to bring them a little closer to you so you can see. So my favorite pink is this Fiesta. It is so pretty and so bright, so I'm definitely going to be using that. I don't know if I want to use boysenberry or amethyst. I think I'm going to use boysenberry today. So my favorite purple from Tim Holtz is going to be boysenberry. Again, so bright and so beautiful. Then I grabbed cobalt, I believe. Yep. Cobalt from Tim Holtz also, which I'm obsessed with. And then we might finish out with a little bit of aquamarine, just as another color to kind of add some dimension. Now, depending on how it looks, I might use the gold mixative. So mixatives are a little bit different than the traditional alcohol inks themselves. They tend to take over the way that the alcohol ink comes through. This tends to take over a little bit. So it's fun as like a supplement, but you have to be careful and not use a lot because it will take over your project very quickly. And then we're going to be applying matte finish metallic copper StarCraft HD. So I have two different decals here that we are going to apply to the coasters. So, oh yeah, and I'm going to be adding a little bit of glitter into my UV resin. I just used a little bit of oyster, which I also linked in the description, and I put it in a medicine cup because I have a tendency to dump too much into my UV resin. So I pre-dumped it to make sure that I didn't do that. So I will walk you through all of these steps as we go, providing that my overhead camera works, and it looks like it's working. So exciting. Okay, so we're going to begin with the inks. I'm going to flip you guys back over to the overhead camera. I'm going to put my gloves back on, and we are going to do this thing, okay? So get my inks all set up here. And then put our gloves on. Jenny says she has them. So Jenny, do you have alcohol inks and you haven't used them, or do you mean that you have some of these colors? Let us know in the comments. These are some of my absolute favorites, and I did not link the specific colors for the alcohol inks just because I had some different ones in my bucket and I didn't know exactly which ones I was going to use. So I'm going to open up my new pack of foam applicators. Yay, Shading of the Heart says much better. Good deal. Okay, so I'm going to start probably by just dabbing the alcohol ink onto my actual coaster itself. So you can start by putting it into the foam, but my experience has been that it needs a lot more ink when you put it straight onto the foam, whereas if you just start putting it on the coaster itself, then you don't tend to need as much. So I'm going to start with Fiesta because it's my favorite color. And the first thing you always want to do is shake it up because they do separate quite a bit when they're staying in the bottle for long periods of a time. And then you're just basically going to start dotting them and just moving them around with the applicator. It can be a little bit... It can seem like so easy that there must be a trick to it, and there are some different techniques that you can use. But honestly, guys, it's really, really pretty and just really, really easy to work with. Oh, shoot. You know what I was going to do? I may have to jump up and grab my actual alcohol because it's good to have. Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. Okay, Jenny said, I have them but haven't used them. Gotcha, Jenny. Well, good. Well, then maybe this will give you the motivation to get started. So we're going to use a little bit of Fiesta over on this other coaster. And I basically just use this as a dabbing motion. There's not a ton of thought that I'm putting into this application. Then let's add in some boysenberry. Because you all know, I mean, I just love the colors like pink and purple and super duper girly. That's definitely my style. But the alcohol inks are so fun. They're so bright and beautiful. There's so many things that you can do with these. I just love them. Okay, and we're getting a little bit of paint coming through, but honestly, that's totally fine with me. We're just gonna wing it and go little by little. All right, so on this coaster, let's use a little bit of cobalt. I think that's gonna be really pretty, and this way they're not quite exactly the same. I don't want the colors to look exactly the same on both, since I have two different designs. So again, I'm just using my phone dabber, and I'm literally just dabbing it all over the place. This color is called Cobalt, but honestly, it kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, it's almost got like a violet tone to it, because I can definitely see some purples in it for sure. Okay, let's do a little bit of aquamarine over on this one. Laura says, squirrel brain, but did the bubble go down on your self-healing mat yesterday? No, Laura, I ruined it. You guys really can't see it right there, but there is a huge ridge in my self-healing mat. So if you guys watched my live yesterday, I used my Easy Press straight on my self-healing mat because I forgot to put my, I forgot to put the, oh my gosh, Cricut Easy Press mat down, and I totally ruined it. So I'm going to have to order another one, but that's okay. There was even more reason for me to do alcohol ink on top of it today, because I figured, well, I'm going to order a new one anyway, so no big deal. All right, so really I'm just going to play with these colors and just move them all over the place. And then we'll come back in with alcohol at the end. Markia was wondering as well, hey, y'all know I'm an open book. You can ask me anything. And honestly, I thought it was pretty funny. I mean, it's a little bit annoying that I have to buy another mat because these are like, I don't know, like $35 or $40 maybe. But honestly, because it saves my tabletop so much, I am perfectly fine with buying another one rather than, you know, having to buy like a brand new tabletop. I was hoping that it would heal to Shading of the Heart. I really was, but I thought, well, that's probably a little much to heal from. Corinne says, haha, whoopsie. That's exactly how I looked at it. I was like, well, darn. That's okay, though. It happens. I crack myself up. I've been trying to be better about laughing at myself lately. I can be one of those people that takes life so seriously. So I've been trying to chill a little bit and laugh at myself a little bit more. Okay, so to finish out this little coaster here, I think I'm going to do a little bit of Fiesta, and then I'm just going to take a touch of Cobalt and put it over in the corner, and we're going to kind of blend two at once, just so it doesn't end up like super boring. You don't want to be too boring with our color. You want to have fun with alcohol ink. You want to experiment with alcohol ink. She said it was totally, Shading of the Heart said it's totally something she would do. Okay, that is not the first time that I have used my Easy Press straight on my mat, but I think it's the first time that I've done it for the full time, because the other times that I've done it, I've at least remembered. I was like, oh crap, and then I put my mat down, so oopsie. Okay, these are turning out to be really fun. And then you guys are going to see when we add the alcohol on top, it's going to be so pretty. The colors are going to blend together even better. Now, I will tell you a disclaimer. Sometimes when I use alcohol ink, I like the way that they turn out so much that I don't end up adding any alcohol. So the alcohol ink part of alcohol ink is that alcohol reactivates the ink. So it makes the ink move more. So you can use it if you want to get a certain effect. You can use it if you want to blend the inks together, but you can also just use it because it makes a pretty, like, I don't know how to explain it, like a speckling effect. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for. But it does really, really pretty things to the alcohol ink. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. I'm just going to have to jump up and get my alcohol spray bottle because I forgot to bring it. I meant to, but I forgot. So on this last one, I haven't put any boysenberry on there yet, so I think I'm going to do that. And then I may try a little bit of the gold mixative like on the top or something to show you guys what that looks like, because the mixatives are really, really fun. But like I said, you do have to be a little bit careful with them, because they'll just take over and they'll just be large and in charge. Compared to your other alcohol ink, the other alcohol ink will just not seem like a whole lot. Another thing that you need to know is that alcohol inks do dry quickly. So you do have to move kind of fast when you're moving them around, because you don't have a ton of time before they are like totally dry. But that's what you can use the alcohol for, is if you want to wake them up, you can easily do that with just a spritz of alcohol. Laura says, look like dye right now, very pretty. Yes, it definitely does look like dye until you put the alcohol ink on top, or excuse me, the alcohol on top. It totally does look like dye, you're right. And My Small Pottery Shop said, where can you purchase the blue mat you're using? So I forgot to link those, but they are in my Amazon store. These are just silicone trivets from Amazon. They're trivets like you would use under a hot pan, but of course I don't use them in my kitchen. I just specifically use them for this, but yeah, they're just silicone trivets. You can buy them on Amazon or really anywhere. Okay, so it looks like I got a little bit of paint on the bottom of my applicator thing, and it moved a little bit of paint around on this guy. So I think I'm going to add a little more ink right here and just cover up the white paint on that one spot, and then we'll do a little bit of mixatives on this one because they're just too pretty for me to pass up. Okay. That looks pretty good, and they're basically already dry to the touch, which is really, really nice. So that's one of those things. It can be a pain when you're new because it's like a little bit of a struggle to work with things that dry so fast, but it's also really convenient because you can finish your projects really quickly too. Oh, okay. My Small Pottery Shop, her name is Maria. Perfect. Well, thank you for joining me, Maria. I'm glad that you're here. Okay, guys, so I'm going to use this stuff super sparingly. This is the gold mixative from Tim Holtz, and I'm going to put it over some of the color that is like largely the same shade. So this is the boysenberry side where I put a bunch on that side, and I'm going to use the mixative here so that I can break up some of that color and just use it in a little bit of a different way. So I'm lightly dabbing it around so that the color doesn't get too concentrated in just one spot. And I can put this up closer to the camera here in a minute and show you guys what this looks like. I'm gonna build on this one area so that I'm gonna add a little bit more mixative here in the same spot, and we're gonna kind of follow the same process and build the color up. Thank you, Maria. You're so sweet. Sam said, I had to walk away early on without having to start from the beginning. Can someone tell me if alcohol inks were included in the mystery box? So CM, they were not included in the mystery box because they actually don't ship to all of the places in the US. They're a little bit, because alcohol inks have something in them. I don't know if it's the alcohol because they're a little more flammable. I don't know. But I know that there are a few restrictions as far as shipping them. So I was not able to include them in my mystery box, but you can get them on 143 vinyl if you want to take your acrylics to the next level. And especially because I did this also because I have so many acrylics in my mystery box, I didn't want you guys to think that you just had to use vinyl on all of them and that was just going to be it. So that's another reason why I wanted to show you a variety of ways to use them so that you didn't get bored with the things in your box. But all you need for this project is just vinyl. I mean, vinyl works great on acrylic blanks, and we are going to add vinyl after a layer of UV resin, so I'll show you how to do that too. So I'm just lightly moving that around here. We're going to leave it in this small area. And I might let that color go. So the only thing is that because we used acrylic paint, the spot where I put down the mixative created like kind of a big spot right there. And it's looking like it's not going to want to cover up. So I might just leave this the way it is before I go too far. Nancy said, do you send out notifications when you're going live? So Nancy, sometimes I do. Sometimes I post on Facebook or whatever. I put out a schedule yesterday of all of the lives that I'm doing with the stuff in my mystery box. So I didn't send out anything today, but I definitely recommend you go check out that schedule so that you know when everything is happening. I also posted it on YouTube as well. So if you just want to go to like I think it's the community tab, I posted a little graphic that has what project I'm doing and what day and what time I'm doing each of the projects. So I'm just going to add a little bit of mixative to this coaster over here. I want to maintain their differences a little bit. Okay. So that way it's got a little bit of an accent, but it's not anything too crazy. So I don't know how well you guys can see that, but you can see the gold where I just added it right there, and then the other colors. So I am going to put down my microphone for just a second, and I'm going to run over and grab my bottle of alcohol so that I can show you guys what alcohol looks like when you put it over top of the ink. So just a second, I'll be right back. Guys, I was getting a phone call, and apparently someone doesn't know that I'm live. All right. So I am back. My microphone is back on my shirt. And I'm going to be using, I have a giant spray bottle that has alcohol ink in it. I'll show it to you guys. And this is not the best way to get alcohol on your alcohol inks. So I'll show you guys what we have at 143 that works really, really great for this. Let me pull my glove off here for just a second so I don't get alcohol ink everywhere. So we have these little mini spritzers, and these guys are by far the best thing to use for alcohol ink. In fact, I'm just going to pour some alcohol ink from my bottle into one of these because this is going to make it so much easier. It's just basically a teeny tiny spray bottle. And see, this guy is so big, but I filled it up this way because of the tumblers and stuff that I do. It's easier to just have it in like a big bottle, but we'll put it over here on my thing. Perfect. I just filled it up with a little bit of alcohol. And this is 91% alcohol, but any rubbing alcohol that you have will work just fine for this. So if you have 70% or whatever you have, that's fine. Oh, Cindy suggested. Oh, someone said that these are at Dollar Tree. So I did not buy this blue mat at Dollar Tree. I bought them on Amazon as a big pack. So I have like 6 or 8 of them. But you can totally get these at Dollar Tree, I'm sure. They're just silicone trivets is all they are. Because epoxy and UV resin do not stick to silicone. That's the reason you want to use them. Laura said, so do you not use the rubbing alcohol? So I'm going to show you how to use it. Oh no, Cindy, I'm sorry you didn't get notified. I try to post also when I start the live too, so at least if you guys didn't see it in advance, you have it then. Oh my gosh, y'all. I'm a mess getting my gloves back on. Okay. There we go. So you've got this little mini spritzer, and this is really going to help us with the pattern that the alcohol is going to go onto the coasters. So if you were to just pour alcohol on top of it, it's not going to make as pretty of a pattern. It's better to use this. Laura says, oh, do you just use rubbing alcohol? Yes, rubbing alcohol is all you need in any percentage. So I'm just going to spritz it on like that. And then I don't know if you guys can see, but the color just became a lot brighter. And hopefully it's going to do cool things like it usually does. Yeah, and it's blending together a lot better than it did before. So you can see the color is much brighter on this one where I sprayed the alcohol versus this one. So watch this one and see how much brighter it gets. It turns out so pretty. Hey Devaki, thanks for joining us. Shading of the Heart said, I've been able to find 91% at Rite Aid, CVS, and Walgreens. If not in store, then online. Well, good. I'm glad that some of that's coming back. I know at first when COVID began, people were asking me like, well, where do I get this stuff? And I was like, guys, I don't know. I've had this stuff for so long that I haven't had to look for it. Y'all, look how much brighter these just got with the alcohol. That was super cool. So I'm going to add maybe a little bit more pink onto this one because this one's looking super, super dark over here. So let's add a little bit of ink and see if we can't brighten it up a little bit. And it may not do anything. I don't know. We're going to find out. So I'm going to put a second pad on here just so that it's not quite so saturated. We're just going to start moving it around. Kind of see what happens. You guys, it turned out so cool. I love it. And over here, I'm just dabbing all over the place just to kind of see what different effects we can create with the alcohol, with the ink. So you can kind of spray as you go if you want to. You don't have to do all of your ink at once like I did. I just kind of like to get my ink down on my surface, and then I like to spray alcohol. That's just a preference for me. But you guys can do whatever you think. You can experiment more. You can stop along the way. And also, the really nice thing is if you hate what you made, like if you do it and you hate it, you can always go back and basically wipe it almost clean using rubbing alcohol, and then you can go back and redo it, which is really nice. So let's drop a little bit of mixative here and see how that ends up looking. It was doing like a cool bubbly thing with the alcohol on the top. Looks so cool. This one was just looking really dark, so I felt like I needed to like lighten it up somehow. And then as soon as all the alcohol settles down and everything is dry, we'll go ahead and put these guys in the with a layer of UV resin on in the UV lamp, and then we'll be on our way. Wrong direction. There we go. And it's so funny because we use basically the same colors. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so y'all can see. I mean, the way that they turned out is so different. How do you do the ink without the foam applicator? So you can use anything for these guys. You can use a makeup sponge if you want to. You can really experiment with the ways that you apply alcohol ink. So a makeup sponge is probably the closest alternative to the foam applicator. You can also use a felt applicator that you can buy from the craft store. There's a lot of different ways to do it. And another fun thing, I've done this experiment before, where if you want to drop your alcohol ink and then you use a little tiny straw and you blow it so that it like splatters, that's a really cool way to do it too. There's just so many fun ways to play with alcohol ink. So I definitely encourage you to look it up, be creative with the ways that you do it. You could spread it around with a cotton ball if you really wanted to, if you didn't have anything to apply it with. There's just tons of fun ways to play with it. Laura said, can you use a small paintbrush to make a more distinct pattern? I was thinking a sunflower, something very pretty. Yes, Laura, you could totally use a paintbrush if you wanted to too, if you wanted to like make a specific pattern. Typically when you see alcohol inks used, a lot of times it is more of like an abstract pattern like this, but you can do whatever you want. Ooh, Corinne said baby wipes are super fun to use. I've never thought about using baby wipes. That's a cool idea too. See, there's just so many fun ways. So far, the ways we've talked about that you can apply alcohol ink, you can use a straw, you can use a cotton ball, you can use a makeup sponge, you can use a baby wipe, you can use a paintbrush, you can also drop it on and tilt it. I mean, there's just so many ways that you can do it, like so many different options. I definitely want you guys to be creative when it comes to alcohol ink because the options are seriously limitless. My ink is not wanting to dry. Come on. I guess I loaded it up with too much alcohol. And now I want alcohol ink, and I'm sure when you start using UV resin, I'm going to want that too. Thanks, Alex. Oh, yeah, you're welcome. You know I'm here to enable. That's what I do best. Yes, Shading of the Heart said, I use a paintbrush to create a wood grain texture. Exactly. So, yeah, you definitely can do that a little bit more deliberately. That's a great point. Absolutely. And alcohol ink goes best on surfaces that are non-porous. So things like acrylic, like these. Tumblers are great for alcohol inks. Glass is great for alcohol inks. You can use it on paper as well. So there's a lot of different surfaces that work well, but it has a different effect every time, you know, depending on what kind of surface it's on. So as soon as these guys set, which this one is still looking really, really wet for some reason. I don't know why it's not drying as fast. But as soon as these guys set, we'll go ahead and add our UV resin. So this is the UV resin that I use. The brand is Lamino from Amazon. I have it linked down in the description for you if you guys want to check out the one that I use. Oh, Laura said, love the wood grain idea. Laura, I have a tutorial on how to make a wood grain tumbler, and you can apply that to other things as well if you want to go check that out on my YouTube channel. You don't just have to do that on tumblers, but the wood grain looks so stinking cool. But anyway, so this is the UV resin that I use. There are lots of great brands on Amazon, but this is the one that I've used for the longest and I have the best experience with. And what I'm going to be using to apply that is just a paintbrush, like super simple. Where did I put my, oh yeah, I took the glitter out already. Okay, so I use these little tiny paintbrushes that I also buy from Amazon for UV resin, and I do not try to save them. People always ask me like, oh, how do you rinse out your brushes? I don't, guys, I just throw them away because UV resin is super sticky and I just don't want to put that down my sink. So I would just rather sacrifice the paintbrush. So I just use a paintbrush just for the applications. And then I am going to be using a UV lamp, like I said, that I got from 143 Vinyl. I'm going to zoom y'all out just a little bit. There we go. So you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. So I'm going to be using a UV lamp that I got from 143 Vinyl. Again, this one is 48 watts, which is close enough, but you want to be using a UV lamp that is at least around 50 watts so that you're not trying to cure something with too weak of a lamp, because if that happens, then you basically just won't get, won't get your UV resin to stop being sticky, essentially. Another thing you want to be careful about, so in order to cure the UV resin, you have to have UV light, just like this, but you also have to make sure that you don't put the bottle right in front of the UV lamp, because you can actually cure your UV resin in the bottle. I have done it. Devaki said, can we use a normal resin rather than a UV resin? Absolutely. You can totally use regular epoxy. The only problem is it's going to take hours and hours to cure each layer. So the UV lamp will have no effect on epoxy resin. That is a question that I get almost constantly on my UV resin versus epoxy video. UV light has no effect on the cure time of regular epoxy resin. So you certainly can do that. It's just going to take you a while. So we're still waiting for these little guys to dry. Come on, friends. Let's go. We got things to do, people to see. So it's getting really close, but I don't know why I don't know if you guys can see the wet spots. You probably can't, but I can see them from the angle that I'm sitting. And I don't know why it's taking so stinking long. So yeah, as soon as I get ready to open up my UV resin, I will be putting on my N95 like I explained in the middle of this video, or in the beginning of this video, I mean. So I'll be doing that very soon. I don't know what else to talk to you guys about until these guys decide to dry. Come on. I wonder if I went ahead and put the UV resin on, it would probably spread everywhere, which wouldn't be the worst thing, because then I could just spread it out some more, but I don't know why it's taken so long to dry. I'm impatient today, my friends. I'm ready to roll. I don't know if I'm helping or hurting the situation, but I'm getting impatient. So I'm just going to play around with these guys. Okay. I wish I had a fan over here. I've got my ceiling fan going, but I don't think that's enough. So I did bring a spare set of gloves. That's another thing you always want to do, is have more than one set of gloves. Even if you don't plan on taking your gloves off, I almost always end up taking them off at least once. And sometimes if they get like turned inside out, I can't get them back, like turned back around. So I always end up having to replace a glove. Cindy says, I use a silicone brush from Amazon. They come in different sizes. You can stick under the lamp with the project when it's done, and it can be pulled out in the project. Yes, yes, yes. So silicone brushes are a great one. I always forget about them because I don't use them as often myself, but you are exactly right, Cindy. That would be perfect. Markia said, what will tomorrow's craft be? So tomorrow is Friday, so it's a recorded video. I have several videos ready, guys, and I don't know which one I'm going to post yet. So, sorry guys, I'm not as organized as I'm supposed to be. But yeah, whatever it is, it'll be a fun surprise, I'm sure. Shading of the hearts is me, always an impatient crafter. Agreed, agreed. Yes, you guys are saying to use a hair dryer. That would be a great idea, except that I don't have a hair dryer in this room. I have a heat gun, but I don't want to blow the fuse while I've got the UV lamp already plugged in, because the my little heat gun is a rebel and it tends to blow the fuse. Okay. You guys, we're getting so close. This one ended up turning out like all wild. Look at that guy. He's got color everywhere. All kinds of stuff going on, whereas this one's a little more organized. So we'll see how these turn out. I'm excited. Okay, I know what we can do. We can weed our decals while we wait for these puppies to finish drying. So that's what we'll do. I've got StarCraft HD decals, and that's what we're going to work with. So we are using metallic copper for both of them. Metallic copper StarCraft HD. And I kind of went with an empowerment theme here, like a woman empowerment theme with my little decals. I've got some really tiny little letters down here. You guys see that? Okay, good. I'm in the frame for you. I also like to challenge StarCraft HD because I'm continually impressed with how tiny of letters it can cut. Like, it does such a good job. And now that being said, sometimes I see complaints about, things not cutting or whatever. And here's the thing you have to remember. It's great to have a vinyl that does a really good job cutting really fine details. But here's the thing about it, is that at a certain point, vinyl has limitations with what it is able to do. So yes, it can cut very fine things, and that is really impressive. But at a certain point, you may be pushing your vinyl to a limit that it just can't hold up to, if that makes any sense. So keep that in mind when you are working on a project and you're like, it's just not working. You may be pushing the vinyl a little too hard. That is definitely a thing. It definitely happens, and I have done it too, so I am not, exempt from that. But just keep that in mind when you're working with vinyl. It only goes so small because vinyl is not quite stuck to the carrier sheet as tightly as StarCraft StarCraft Softflex or any other kind of HTV. So it just can't hang on the way that HTV can. We may have to get our tweezers in there and fix that little guy. I didn't realize when I sized it so small that those letters were going to be so tiny. They're small already, but man. Come on. Ugh. There we go. Okay. Last little tiny letter. Cool. All right. So even if we have to put it back together, that's okay. So we can reconstruct our teeny tiny pieces. So you guys see what I mean? We almost took StarCraft HD to its limit there. So I'm just going to use my tweezers to reconstruct the design. Thanks, Jenny. Shading of the heart said the sharpness of your blade makes a difference too. Yes, it does, especially if your blade is a little bit on the older side. Another thing that I think is really underrated by a lot of crafters is how tacky your mat is when you're putting vinyl on it. Keep in mind that the job of your mat is to keep your vinyl in place while you're cutting it. And so I am a big believer that if your mat is not sticky enough, you can get yourself into a lot of problems. So using a newer mat or a stickier mat is always a good idea. So we're going to get it back in order, and then I'll try to match the way that, so it says stay humble on the top and then hustle hard at the bottom. And the way that the letters are arranged is kind of like a little semicircle, but we'll see if I'm able to get that back. If I'm not, we can just put them straight across and it'll look fine. There we go. But anyway, like I was saying, yeah, I really think that the the tackiness of your mat is a big deal also. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about as a factor. But since it's your job, the mat, oh my gosh, the job of your mat is to hold your vinyl in place, it is super important to have a really sticky mat that can handle and hold down the vinyl so that the Cricut can even get a good cut. Yep, we're going to abandon the semicircle, my friends. That was a cool idea, but we're not going to be able to do that. We're just going to put everything back in order, and we're going to go with it like we did it on purpose. All right. And luckily, this is going to be preserved in UV resin. It's going to have a coat over top of it, so you're not going to have to worry about it. In this case, if I was putting this on something and it wasn't going to be covered in some kind of resin or something, it probably wouldn't last all that long, to be honest, because this is just so stinking thin. There's that. We got to get out the middle of the letters down here. Oh yeah, okay, that's a great idea. Crafty Mama J says she works with alcohol ink a lot, and she said you can also spray your ink down, or your alcohol first, and then add your alcohol ink on the top, and it will do the cool splatter effect. So that's another technique that you could use if you didn't want to do your alcohol ink first. That's just one of the reasons why I love having a lot of alcohol ink options, because there's just so many ways to use them. So many projects where they're like such a fun fit. Okay, let's make sure that everything is straight. And there we go. So that's decal number 1. Our other decal is a lot simpler. And if you want this Stay Humble, Hustle Hard decal, I have it linked for you in the description. I got it from Design Bundles a while ago. So that is design number 1. And that's what's going to go on one of our car coasters. Oh, that's true. I didn't think about reverse weeding. Good call. Reverse weeding would have been a good strategy for that too. So the other one just says Boss Babe, and I got this one out of Cricut Design Space. I am a Cricut Access member, so I just pulled up Cricut Design Space and typed this in. I was actually going to put this on a shirt the other day, and I ended up changing my mind, but I knew I wanted to use it for something. So it worked perfect with my woman empowerment theme today of our coasters. So there we go. That was much easier. All right, let's add some transfer tape on these guys, and it looks like our other decals are, or excuse me, our ink is ready to get UV resin. So yay. Actually, we can add transfer tape here in a minute. So we've got Boss Babe for one of these, and Stay Humble, Hustle Hard for the other one. So there you go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put on my N95. I'm also going to take a sip of my drink really fast, just because my throat gets really dry. That's why I always have a drink on lives, because if I don't, I I'm so used to having a drink nearby that I'll kind of panic and be like, oh no, and then my mouth will get really dry, and I'll just freak out, and it's not a good time. I've been going live long enough that I know what works for me. All right, guys, let's switch back down here. I'm going to put on my N95 mask, so I apologize if it's a little bit harder to hear me. Oh, I got caught in my earring. There we go. All right. So, got my N95 on. We're going to put the gloves back on, and it's time to add some UV resin. Woohoo! You guys are going to be shocked by how easy UV resin is to use if you've never used it before. It's really, really neat. Okay. So the best way to do this that I have found is just to take it straight from the bottle and drop it right onto the coaster itself. So it's super easy. Like I said, it comes in a bottle just like this. It does come in a dark bottle, so ideally it's not going to cure by being in front of the lamp. But I will tell you that I have definitely done that, and it will cure in front of the lamp if you leave the bottle like directly in front of the lamp. I have done that. So what I do to prevent that is I just put the lid back on and stick it back in the box. That way it has an added layer of protection from the UV in case I forget. So then I'm just going to take my brush and I'm literally just going to brush the UV resin out to the edges. And it has a little bit of surface tension, which means if you walk it all the way to the edge but you don't push it over the edge, typically it won't go over the edge on its own. So I just walk it right to the edge with my paintbrush and then let it kind of do its thing. I might need a little bit more, we'll see. It also has some self-leveling properties, which is nice. So if you let it sit for a few minutes, usually it will level itself out really, really nicely. No need to worry about getting it perfect, you know? You just kind of let it do the work for you. Just like this. Yeah, it looks like we may need a little more. If you guys have any questions about UV resin, let me know. I'm going to take my glove off and zoom y'all in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing a little closer. There we go. I'll scoot it up for y'all a little bit. Hopefully that'll help you see. All right, I'm just going to drop a little more onto the side over here. And that's another nice thing about UV resin that's a little different from epoxy. Epoxy, you have about a half hour after you mix the parts A and B together before it hardens on its own. With UV resin, it literally does not harden until you put it under the UV lamp. So as long as you don't turn your UV lamp on, you have as much time to work as you want, which is really, really nice. Okay. So that one is fully covered now. Perfect. I just like to sort of put my head at almost like a perpendicular angle and make sure that the UV resin goes all the way to the edge. Now we're going to do a second coat, so we don't have to get it perfect this time, but just something to keep in mind. Okay, so we'll start spreading it. Oh my gosh, guys, look how different they look. That is just, it's so neat. It's mind-blowing, really. How we used the same ink colors, basically, and they just turned out so different. My favorite's this one. Which one is your favorite? Or do you like the abstract one better? Like this one? Or do you like the little more, I don't know, a little more, I don't know. What would you even call this one? A little more sectioned out one. Do you like your color in sections, or do you like it all over the place? Mackie said, hey, no fair, I don't wake up this early. Sorry, Mackie. I'm in Eastern time. So for me, I started at lunchtime. Recap, please. Well, you'll probably want to go back and watch from the beginning, but essentially we are working with the auto coasters, also known as car coasters. And what we did so far is we've painted the base of them white, and then we used alcohol ink on them, and you'll want to go back through and watch the video for all the different ways we talked about how you can work with them, because there's so many techniques you can use. And now we are putting a layer of UV resin on the top of them. Then we're going to add vinyl and do another layer of UV resin and mix in our glitter. And then we're done. Okay. So, it's looking pretty good. What I tend to do, I was telling you guys, I kind of get my head down low and I can see based on the shine if there are any areas that are like bare of UV resin. You can just kind of use the glossy look to it to tell. Just dab those with your paintbrush. And we'll give our UV resin another second to settle on this coaster because it hasn't had as long as this other one has. But yeah, you just want to kind of dab your brush in anywhere you see little bubbles or like the UV resin just hasn't covered that one particular spot. Mackie said, LOL, it's only 10 a.m. Well, in your time zone it is. In my time zone, it's 1:10. Yes, I do typically throw these away because these are regular paint brushes. If you want to use a reusable brush, then you would want to grab a silicone brush. Okay, so these look pretty good to me, so I'm going to show you guys how to put the UV lamp over top of them. So the UV lamp that I'm using is from 143 Vinyl, and it has a separated lid. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take the lid off, and I'm just going to place the top over top of the silicone trivet, which is another reason why I like to use it. And then I'm going to push the 60-second button, and I'm going to do 2 rounds of 60 seconds. That's usually my preference for how long. So, and then I've got my UV resin over here on the other side so that it doesn't get any UV exposure. Another thing that I sometimes do, I have to hold the cord because I don't have a ton of cord space on this one. But sometimes what I do is I take a piece of cardstock and I go like this. And I put it over top so that I don't have to watch the UV light directly. Normally when I'm right beside the UV lamp, I usually walk away from it so that I don't stare at the light, because I don't know about you guys, but if something is pretty and shiny, I'm going to stare at it. That's just the way that I roll. But that's not always the best thing. Oh, I'm trying to switch it, but my gloves don't want me to. Never mind. I'm not going to switch y'all over to my face because my gloves don't. I don't want to touch my screen and get UV resin on my screen. Jenny said, I got to get me one. Another fun thing about these is that they are mint from 143 Vinyl. So I love having these because it's just really pretty. So I've linked this one down in the description for you guys below. Okay, so we got one in there. I'm going to push the UV lamp over top a little bit more. And I'm going to do one more 60-second round, I guess you could say. That's how I usually do 2 rounds of 60 for this UV resin. That seems to work well for me. But y'all can experiment with how long you want to try it. Maggie says she always watches like, I know. And I don't know. There's just something about it. If it is sparkly, if it lights up, if it shines, I'm going to watch it. So I try to do things and be smart and like put paper over top of my UV lamp if I can. Just to make sure. Because it doesn't seem like a very smart idea, but you know, hey. So once this is done, we'll go ahead and apply our vinyl on top, and we're going to put another layer of UV resin to seal it in, especially because those pieces are so small on that one decal, and then we'll be all set. So the beginning took a lot longer than this part does because UV resin is like amazingly fast, which is one of the things that I love about it. Okay, so once the light goes off, we can move that to the side, and now it's time for our vinyl. So woohoo! So, you guys can't see that, but it's not sticky whatsoever. So here's how they look so far. They have a nice, pretty, glossy finish to them. And they're looking pretty good. So, loving it. All right. So I'm going to remove my gloves for a hot second so that I can put some transfer tape on. Oh my gosh, Robin says, I ended up with cataracts from the UV light from the sun, so be careful. Exactly, and that's why I try my best to be really, really careful with it, Robin, because I know that it can definitely have some consequences. So, I hear ya. So, we're just going to add these to the transfer tape, just like we normally would. I'm going to zoom y'all out a little bit. Again, so you can see. We'll cut off the transfer tape here. Whoops, got a little piece caught there. In fact, I could probably reuse my transfer tape, but that's okay. Didn't think of that. So, shading of the heart, your UV resin tends to be sticky even after a full cure. So, I was having that problem as well, and I contacted some people that know a lot more about UV resin than I do, and that's when they told me to get a stronger lamp. So the problem could be that you do not have a strong enough UV lamp curing your UV resin, or it could just be the UV resin brand. I've noticed that some brands just don't end up fully curing. So some ways you can solve that are to get a stronger lamp, or you can leave it in the sun for a little while after you're done. Okay, so let's see. I think I'm going to I feel like Boss Babe matches the one on the right a little bit better. And then the Stay Humble Hustle Hard matches this one. What do you guys think? Is that a good fit or this way? I don't know. So, yeah, that's how we're going to do it. Okay, so you just apply the vinyl just like you would any other time. It's super duper simple. It's straightforward. You want to make sure all your pieces come off of the backing if you're using super tiny pieces like me. And I guess I'm going to apply it with a little piece up in the front. The purpose for this piece is so that you can get it out of your cup holder. That's why it's not fully round. So that's what the little bite is for. So just in case you guys didn't know that. I don't know. Oh, no, guys. Okay, I changed my mind. I'm going to put it on this one only because the bottom word there is so small that it's really hard to read on the bright pink. So I'm going to put the Stay... Oh my gosh, I always want to mess this up. The Stay Humble Hustle Hard on this one because you can read it a little bit better. So I'm just going to burnish with my finger. I think that's going to be good enough. And then peel it away. And it looks so good. It's a little bit hard to read on these lighter colors, but I think it looks great. What do you guys think? All right, and then we're going to put Boss Babe on the little bit lighter colors. Okay. So... And I made my designs about 2 inches in width, and then some of them seemed proportionately not very tall. So I did unlock them and stretch them down a little bit just to take up a little bit more, I don't know, surface area, I guess, of the car coaster. Okay. And then that applied so well. See, it applies so easily, which is what I love. Like, once you put the UV resin on, because it's so smooth, it applies like literally like a dream. Okay, so here's the fun part. The gloves are going back on, and we're going to mix a little bit of glitter into our UV resin, which is always so much fun. So like I said, I use the color Oyster, which is from StarCraft Glitter over at 143 Vinyl. And the reason I chose Oyster, I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see it on camera, but it's got like opal tones to it. So it just gives a really pretty like pink and blue look to the UV resin. And I just love the way that it really like colors the resin. So that's what we're going to do. And this is actually probably way too much. No, actually it's not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the UV resin straight into the medicine cup. And I'm going to mix these first before I put them on the coasters themselves. So we're just going to hope that we're mixing up enough for both. I'm going to hope for the best. And let's see. I need a popsicle stick, which I have over here. So I'm going to use a popsicle stick and mix it around. And it just puts such a glittery touch over top. You guys are going to love this. All right, I'm moving my UV resin so that I don't harden the whole bottle. And this is way too much UV resin, I think, but that's okay. Actually, so that's pretty thick, actually, and I'm a little bit concerned that it's not going to show enough of the decal through it, so I'm actually going to add a little bit more UV resin to dilute it a little bit. And I might end up doing 2 coats on the top just because I have so much. Because this is going to be way more UV resin than we need. See, I told you guys I always over pour my glitter every single time. So, there you go. It's that easy. All right, so I'm going to set this aside, and then I'm going to go ahead and use my paintbrush again. And you can actually use a popsicle stick too, if you prefer to use popsicle stick on your coasters. See, it's so thick now you're not going to be able to see the words. Hopefully we can spread it out a little bit, and if we have to take some away, we'll take some away, because I really want to be able to see the decal. Told y'all, I always overdo the glitter. Anyone else a glitter addict like me? And really, you only need a teeny tiny little bit of UV resin in this case, because you literally just want to cover the vinyl. So you really don't have to do a lot. And our surface underneath is super smooth, which is great. Alright, so here's what we're going to do, because we don't want to cover up this decal. Apparently lots of you do that too. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to scoop a bunch of the UV resin off of here, and I'm going to paint it over here on this one. And then we might end up having to get rid of some off this one coaster, because I'm reading that Boss Babe one. It's just too cute. It's too cute to cover up with sparkles. As much as I love the sparkle, I do it every time. I tried to prevent it, and I still did it. Oopsie. Oh, well. Okay. Luckily, vinyl is very easily covered by UV resin, honestly. So you don't need a whole lot. Okay. So the Stay Humble one you can still read fairly well. But we're going to extract some of the Boss Babe here. So I'll use my popsicle stick and scoop it off and put it back in the cup. And then I'll use my paintbrush to apply UV resin. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pick it up. That's the beauty of gloves. And scoop this back in here. Okay. Let's try that again. Shall we? Alright, I'm going to wipe some off the side because I don't want anything hanging over. Then I'm going to use my paintbrush and even everything out so that it looks a lot better. Okay, and now that I think everything looks pretty good, I am going to give the UV resin a moment to kind of settle back down, even out. I don't really use any heat on my UV resin, honestly, guys. Some people ask me that, like if you can use a heat gun. I mean, you can, but most of the bubbles are really going to be more like dust and stuff that get into your UV resin rather than like bubbles per se. Since there's no mixing involved, there's just not as much of that. Yes, Michelle, we talked about those earlier. Those silicone brushes are magic for all things UV resin. Agreed, agreed. Okay, so I'm going to set all this stuff aside. Make sure that the paintbrush looks, or the coasters look really well covered. I'm wiping a little more off because I just really want to be able to read Boss Babe. That's what happens when you put a glitter addict on a glitter project, friends. Okay, so now that I think this looks good, we are going to use our UV lamp and finish this out. So, again, I'm going to rearrange them just a hair so that they don't touch the edges of the UV lamp. Okay, so I'm going to pull the UV lamp off of the bottom, so we're just using the top portion. I'm going to put it over top of the coasters, put it for 60 seconds, and then I'm going to put some paper over top so we don't stare at the light. Shading of the Heart says, you can definitely get bubbles in molds with UV resin. Ask me how I know. That's true. Molds are kind of a different story because that's the air pockets are the reason that you're getting bubbles. I guess that's a good disclaimer to make. It's more with like UV resin projects like this, since you're not actually mixing the UV resin, there's really not many ways to like get bubbles in them, if that makes sense. A lot of the mixing or the bubbles in epoxy come from the mixing. So, yeah. We're really close to being done, y'all. Thanks for some of you guys for sticking with me for a while. This is fun. I love working on stuff like this. I could do this all day long. And thinking back on it, we probably should have mixed glitter into our first coat of UV resin, but hey, that's okay, right? Live and learn. Oh, we're so close. Oh my gosh, now my paper's falling. So let me know in the comments if you want to try UV resin after watching this video, or alcohol ink, either one. Either one, let me know, because I'm pumped for y'all. I'm pumped for you guys to try this if you're interested. It's a lot of fun. You can do a lot with it. It's a little less nerve-wracking, in my opinion, than epoxy. But it also has its own nuances. So if you're nervous about it, I mean, you're going to be nervous either way. But you just got to try it, you know? Sometimes you just got to try it. I'm holding the the cord over here because it's plugged into my extension cord and I don't want to let it fall. Okay. So now that we're all done, I'll remove the lamp. And they're looking pretty good. They are not super smooth, so I would probably do one more coat if I was giving these to someone, but since they're just for me, I don't really care. I think they're going to be fine. But here is the final project, you guys. So this one says, stay humble, hustle hard. Maybe you can read it in the light a little better. There you go. Stay humble and hustle hard. And this one says, boss babe. They're super cute. They're a little easier to read in person than they are on the camera, but I absolutely love how these turned out. Calissa says, I want your resin and your lamp. Absolutely, sis. I hear ya. But I did link everything down in the description below. So if you guys are interested in trying this out, everything is available down in the description. All right, so now that the UV resin is no longer curing, I can take that off. I'll go ahead and take the backing off now too. So like I said, it's not going to look as pretty with the backing. Apparently we got some paint that moved around here, but that's okay because these coasters are going to sit with the pretty side up all the time. Mackie says you've been thinking about trying alcohol ink. Well, cool. That'd be super awesome. So this is why I like to leave the film on until the very end, because in case you get any UV resin or anything on the backing, which you can see we did get some stuff back there, you don't have to worry about messing up the other side of your project. So super fun and easy project, a little bit tedious, but still not bad. More fun than difficult. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I had so much fun hanging out with you today. If you have any other questions, let me know. Lynn says, if you do the vinyl directly on the form, do you need epoxy? No, Lynn, if you don't want to use epoxy is optional with any kind of acrylic. So you do not have to seal with epoxy. You can if you want to, but you do not have to. Calista says, I'm going to try it. I don't like the resin I have. Yeah, so that happens a lot. I have tried a couple of different brands on Amazon, and it took me a couple to find this Lamino brand. Again, this is what the box looks like. I have it linked down in the video description for you. And honestly, this is not the only good one that I've tried, but it's the one that's been the consistent best, if that makes sense. Like, I never have problems with different batches of them or anything like that. So this is the one that I choose to use. Carla said, can you use a gel nail polish curing lamp for UV resin? So Carla, it needs to be a minimum of 50 watts. And a lot of times the nail lamps are not that strong. So you'll want to look up how many watts your lamp is. But the cool thing about it that makes it a lot easier is if you wanted to, you could start the curing process under your UV lamp, and then you could put it by a window to let the sun finish curing it. So that's an option too. Mackie said you can use gel polish if you use thin layers because it shrinks too much. I could see that, Mackie. I could totally see that. That's funny. Thanks, Calissa. She says this was a cool live. And Lynn said she's learning so much. Well, I'm so glad that you guys are learning so much and really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying the process of showing you guys what to do. I will be back. So we'll have a regular Friday video that will post tomorrow night at 8, just like it always does. And then I will be back on Tuesday at 2 p.m. And I think we're doing skinny can coolers on Tuesday. So if you want to join me for that, I would love to have you. But otherwise, make sure that you subscribe to DIY Alex if you are new here so that you always get notifications whenever I go live or post any videos. Lately, because of the mystery boxes, I've been going live a bunch, and I have a video post every Friday, so there's been lots and lots of new content going out for you guys, but there's lots more fun to come. So Robin said, have a great rest of your day, and thank you for your tutorial. Well, thank you, Robin, for joining me. I'm so glad that I could teach you guys so much. Don't forget to continue to comment if you have questions and you watch this on the replay.